After years shooting with Sony, I found something better, dramatically better, something I feel and something I see in the pictures. So I'm leaving Sony behind mostly. This is not sponsored by Hasselblad. I bought all this stuff myself. This is sponsored by the Professional Photographers of America. If you're watching this, you probably take your photography seriously. Whether you're an amateur or a professional, PPA is perfect for you. I also think it's the easiest way to get your gear covered in case it's stolen, something that is constantly a problem for those of us who are out and about traveling. Thanks for sponsoring us, PPA. If you want to check it out, use our link. Thank you. First, reflecting on my time with Sony. I love Sony cameras. Every time I did a review, Sony listened. Come on, focus, you piece of shit.
Did you just call that a piece of shit?
Yeah, just because it's a piece of shit. The Alpha 1.2's autofocus is amazing. It locked on to players and tracked them even when other players passed in front of them. Now, Sony's autofocus is the best in the business. The battery life is fantastic. And the main camera I've been using for the last several years since it was released is the Sony A1. And in fact, that's the camera I'm continuing to use for wildlife and sports, anything with a telephoto lens, anything that requires continuous autofocus, because my new camera does not excel at that. And in fact, I'm recording this video on a Sony because my new camera does not record video at all. So Sony's not out of my life. Sony's technology is responsible for a lot of my favorite pictures. The amazing autofocus got animals sharp and in focus when other cameras could not have done that, even for portraits. High frames per second, fantastic eye tracking, and the 1/400 sync speed of the Sony A1 really gave me a lot of flexibility and power. But over the years, the pain points have built up. I still can't really see the back screen in so many different environments. And when I'm shooting portraits, you go to show the client their pictures. You want to encourage them. You want to feel good. And instead what you do is you end up kind of cupping your hand over the rear screen, hoping that you can block the sun out so they can see it. Or you try to tell them to put it up to their eyes so they can look through the EVF. The menu system is still really frustrating. Even after many years of working with Sony cameras, making tutorials for them, and yes, reading the manual, when I need to go in and change some less frequently used setting, I inevitably forget where in the menu system everything is, because humans just don't memorize the location of hundreds of menu items. The camera itself also looks like every other camera. A civilian cannot tell the difference between this and a Canon or a Nikon, and even though this is a special camera, it doesn't feel special from the outside. It feels very ordinary. Here's my Hasselblad moment. A few years back, they reached out to me to review the X2D. They gave me this simplified, intuitive user interface that I was looking for. Wi-Fi performance was good. It had internal storage, all stuff I'd been asking Sony and the other companies for so long. Hasselblad was the one that listened. That particular camera looked a lot like my Sony. It had more of a presence. Clients, models did ask about it. People could tell it was a little bit special, but it wasn't that different. And because it looked so much like my Sony, my Canon, my Nikon, I kind of tested it that way. And that I tested the frames per second and the autofocus, and it didn't excel at those things. While I love that camera, it wasn't my Hasselblad moment. My Hasselblad moment really came when they loaned me this camera, the CFE N100C. And this camera was so strikingly different that it made me test it differently. I took the loaner copy of this to Boston. I had fun with it. It made me fall in love with photography again because it was different, because it felt like I was wearing a piece of jewelry, a fashion statement. But also it has a 100 megapixel medium format sensor, and the images were just stellar. And so I gave it a positive review, noting a lot of the negatives. It still has bad autofocus. It does not have sensor stabilization. And then I sent that loaner back to Hasselblad and went on with my life until a trip that I took to Norway. And I thought, what camera do I want to bring to Norway? My heart kept telling me, like, I miss the Hasselblad. I want the Hasselblad back. So I went out and I bought one, and I bought some lenses, and that was a painful moment because it was really expensive. And that's the biggest reason why they're not for everyone. I was happy using it, but really it was the images that sold me. See, I was there with a couple other photographers, and every night we'd get back and we'd compare our pictures. Time and time again, this beat the Canon R5 and Sony A7R5 that the others were using The image quality was substantially better. When Sony launched the A9 Mark III, it was an engineering marvel with its global shutter, capable of unlimited sync speeds. One of the things I wanted to do was to test that out against close competitors. Hasselblad has leaf shutters. I thought I'd test them side by side, but the results really astounded me. It was not close. The Hasselblad absolutely blew away the A9 Mark III. And the Hasselblad also blew away the Sony a7R V. You wouldn't think the difference between full frame and medium format, 60 megapixels and 100 megapixels would be that much, but it was, largely because of the leaf shutter in these lenses, the higher sync speed that it's capable of. But there's also something magical about it when it comes to landscapes or portraits. I mean, I haven't quite been able to pinpoint that. Not to name drop here, but I had a conversation with the famous Manny Ortiz from YouTube. He's also using a lot of Hasselblad. And I said, like, what is it? Why are the pictures so much better? And his theory was it's the extra color depth, the 16-bit RAWs. They allow skin tones to be much smoother. But the Hasselblad isn't winning because of technical reasons. The Hasselblad is winning because of design, because it is different. First, this is a conversation piece. If other photographers see me out, they ask about it. And you may think, no, that's form over function. I don't care about that stuff. A camera is just a tool to me. Okay, but networking is important in business too. Anything that allows you to have a conversation with somebody is important. And if you're a professional photographer like I am, anything that makes the client see you as a little more prestigious, that improves how they perceive your images. It's really not all about the results. A lot of clients today have some kind of camera that looks just like this. They're mistaken, but they believe that the picture is mostly a result of the camera that you're using. So they can see me with my $6,500 Sony A1 and my professional GM lenses, and they think they can get similar results with their Canon T3i because the cameras kind of look the same. Now, they're wrong. I'm saying they're wrong. But the idea that they think I'm using a camera that is rare and special, something they've never seen before, does make people think, okay, I'm going to get pictures that I couldn't make myself at home. It does mistakenly make people think that I'm a better photographer. And all that is actually meaningful and practical as a professional or even an amateur who's looking to up your reputation in your community. I'm going to talk more about why I switched and why it's hard to completely switch away from Sony. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, PPA, the Professional Photographers of America. Join PPA at this link today to turn your passion into a profession. To get you up to speed quick, PPA offers structured online training in areas like gear, lighting, composition, post-production, pricing, marketing, sales, and more. PPA protects your investment in your gear with up to $15,000 in equipment coverage. And if you're like me and you need even more, PhotoCare Plus offers up to $100,000 in coverage. PPA also provides general liability insurance protection for data loss, like a failed hard drive containing client photos, and cyber insurance to mitigate risks like ransomware. Thanks for sponsoring me, PPA. I think the closest competitor to Hasselblad is Leica. Something Leica gets right is legacy and history. Like every new generation of Porsche 911, Leica modernizes their cameras without losing the heritage. And Hasselblad really did that with this specific model, the CFE and 100C. Like this 503 CW, probably the most beautiful camera ever made. It's a system camera. Of course, you can take the lens off like you can with just about any interchangeable lens camera, but I can also add a grip, which seems weird that the grip is optional, but actually I mostly use this without the grip because I just like holding it in two hands. You can add a proper optical viewfinder. I just love looking through this optical viewfinder. And of course, it can take flash pictures with that crazy high unlimited sync speed just by attaching this little flash hot shoe. It uses Nikon flashes with full TTL. But maybe the most amazing thing, this is my Hasselblad film camera with its 120 film back here. I can just snap this off and snap this digital back right on. And now I have a 100 megapixel medium format digital camera with a proper waist level viewfinder that sounds like this. And yeah, I gotta wind up that mirror every time. And all I do is operate it exactly like I would a film camera. I adjust the shutter speed and the aperture both on the lens here. How cool is that? I focus it completely manually using the waist level viewfinder, which I love. or the little eyepiece that allows me to see things a little bit more precisely. And then when I'm ready, I press the proper mechanical shutter button here, and the picture instantly appears on the back of the camera. So Hasselblad is a system that allows me to mix and match modern and vintage components for the experience and the look that I'm going for. That's not something anybody else offers right now. If I had to sum up the differences between like a top-end Sony camera and the Hasselblad system, Sony's a tool and the Hasselblad is experience. The Sony, probably more functional, especially in ways like autofocus, but the Hasselblad has more meaning. It connects to you as a photographer and to the subject. Some of you are saying, what about the Fuji GFX system? That's medium format, the same sensor, quite a bit cheaper. Totally valid. But I'd make the same argument. The Fuji is more of a tool than an experience. The design, much more conventional. Do they have a leaf shutter? No, they don't. Their sync speed isn't great. The rear screen of the GFX does not match the gorgeous rear screen of these Hasselblads, which you can see in sunlight, which when you show your model, your portrait client, their pictures on the rear screen, they look better. And the Fuji's menu system's appalling. Worse than Sony, actually. Difficult to navigate. And they're nice looking cameras, but are they so beautiful that people comment on it all the time? That hasn't been my experience at all. So while I love the GFX system, it just doesn't capture the magic that the Hasselblad system does for me. So let's recap what I'm gaining and giving up. I'm giving up a lot by shooting portraits and landscapes with my Hasselblad. I'm giving up any sort of frames per second. It's bad. I don't have video capabilities at all in the Hasselblad. The readout speed is appalling, which you wouldn't think would matter for portraits with the incredibly slow readout speed of this sensor. I can't use third-party lenses because third-party lenses don't have a leaf shutter, and thus I have to use the electronic shutter, which the readout speed becomes a problem, and even still subjects like portraits end up warpy, and that means I can only buy Hasselblad lenses because they're the only lenses that have leaf shutters. And maybe the biggest thing is money. I'm just giving up a bunch of money because Hasselblad is much more expensive. The lenses are more limited than Sony, and that's why most people should still be shooting Sony. But I am gaining a lot. Like, I'm gaining a camera that I feel passionate about. I'm having more fun. It's also helped me connect to a lot of photographers because they see it and they have questions. Portrait clients and models perceive me as a little more high-end than they would if I had a camera that just looked generic. I have a special camera that I can tell them is rare and the best camera. And when they do zoom in to see the 100 megapixels, they are really blown away. They're also blown away by the big rear screen. On this and the Hasselblad X2D100C, they look better, which makes them happier with the pictures, which means they have more of a smile on their face for the other pictures that I take. So it really does improve the pictures in a pretty tangible way. I'm gaining a crazy high sync speed that still gives me high quality results, something I can't get out of Sony, Nikon, Canon, Fuji, or really any other camera. I'm gaining the ability to switch between digital and film or hybrid experiences whenever I want to. And of course, I'm very lucky because I review cameras. I keep a lot of inventory around just for the sake of reviews, and I would have to keep Sony anyway to film this and to shoot sports and to shoot wildlife. So I'm still very much a Sony shooter. Day to day, portraits, landscapes, I'm a Hasselblad shooter now. So should you switch? Probably not. Sony's the more practical system. It gets the job done. If you could only have one camera, I would put you in a Sony A1 or A1 Mark II. It's amazing. Many of you will complain about the Hasselblad cost. That is legitimate. It is very expensive, about as expensive as you can do. But I'm a professional. It's a business expense. And if you consider professional expenses, like how much does a carpenter spend on their work truck and the toolbox and all of their tools? And even for hobbies. Have you ever been to a car show? Or have you been to a marina? Do you know that people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their hobbies? In relation to those things, as a professional tool or as just a fun toy and hobbies, Hasselblad not that expensive at all. In the comments down below, I'd love to hear why you picked the system that you did and what you think of Hasselblad. Am I completely crazy? Don't forget to subscribe to see more camera reviews and tutorials. Follow me on Instagram because I'm finally actually posting there and you can see what I'm doing day to day with my Hasselblad and my other cameras. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, PPA. You don't have to be professional. They have a ton of resources that can help you. They also provide insurance. In case your gear gets damaged or stolen, it would be a little too scary to walk around with my big old expensive Hasselblad without having some sort of additional protection. But whatever camera you want, you probably can't afford to lose it. So check out PPA today by using our link. Thanks and bye.